In this video, we'll be going through what is EDA or Exploratory Data Analysis, and then we will also go through the code on all the steps which are done during the EDA process. Right, so let's first understand what is EDA. So EDA is an approach to summarize the data sets to understand its main characteristics with the help of visual methods. Now, it's a crucial step in the data analysis process because it helps us to understand the data before diving into the process of model creation or model development. And then the next point is EDA helps us to understand the data structure, the outliers within that, and then the patterns, and if there is any error in the data, that also can be easily seen with the help of data analysis. So in the data analysis process, it's really important to come across we do come across some kind of, let's say, hypothesis, right? And EDA helps us within that or in that process, as well as it helps us for the selection of a best model, or let's say the model technique. Now let's understand the importance of data science, or let's say the importance of EDA in the data science. Now, like I said earlier, EDA is a process of understanding your data, right? Or the data structure. Now what that and the end result is basically we gets to understand the data more closely, and then which can lead to a better model selection during the decision making. Last but not the least, EDA also helps us to understand, or let's say to get to know the errors if there is any error in the data, as well as it also helps us to understand the relationship between the variables, or let's say the columns within the data set. Now in the next section, what we will be doing, we'll be going through a couple of steps in the data preparation first, which will have the data loading process, and then after that we'll be doing the inspection of the data. So when I say inspection, it's more like I've mentioned earlier, we'll be going through if there's any error in the data or if there's any missing data within the data set. So all those steps are done in the data preparation model, or let's say the data preparation or the data preparation process, right? And after that we will be going through the univariate analysis, and then bivariate analysis, and then after that, last but not the least, the multivariate analysis. And all these steps are really important when it comes to the EDA, or let's say the exploratory data analysis, right? So let's go to the Python code, or let's go to the Visual Studio Code and write some code. Let's go. So this is our Visual Studio Code. Now what I will be doing, let's write some code. So first, let me just clear this one. So let me say prepare data set, right? And within that, let's say I would say loading the data. Now for the loading part, I'll be taking the Titanic dataset like we all used to do during the learning phase. For that, first let me import some of the libraries. So first and foremost is a Pandas library, Pandas as PD. So PD is done just to make sure that we don't call the Pandas again and again. And after that, we'll be also importing Seaborn as SNS. So from the Seaborn, basically we'll be pulling the data of the Titanic dataset. So let me run this one, and then we will pull the data. Right, let it run, and by that time I will say dataset, right? So data is equal to sns.load dataset, and I will be loading the dataset from, let's say, the Titanic, right? And also let's see what the data is being pulled, right? So let's run this. So this is what the data is. So basically it says that it has the data set, so it has whether the survived or whether that person has survived or not, the class, the sex, age, and also there are many columns. I do not want to go through it, but you can, when you try to understand the data set, you will surely get to understand what it is. Now let's going back to so there are two ways. First is like just simply running the data, or if normally if it is a data frame, so what we normally do, since it was using the Jupyter notebook, so it was easy for me. But generally when we say print data.head, so this .head, it will bring first 5 characters, or let's say first 5 rows from the data set, right? And this works only if it is a data frame. Okay, cool. Now the second step is let's inspect some data. Initial data inspection, right? So we'll just do some normal inspection, understand the data set and all, or data types and all. Check shape. So see, right now, if you have worked on the data set or the same data set again and again, so it will be easy for you, or you must be knowing the overall data set. But sometimes if you're working with a new data, so it's you might not be knowing the number of columns and the types of data that you have. So for that, it's really important to first understand the shape. So basically the shape will give you, let me just show you the data dot shape, or let's say data dot describe. Right, so what it has given, so it basically gives you like the minimum total number of records, the mean, standard, deviation, and then you have minimum value in that particular column, and then 25% of that data, 50%, 75%, and the max, right, the maximum value. So this basically gives you kind of, the survival, how many counts of data are there, and then what is the maximum value in that particular column. And so basically, let's say for age, 80 is the maximum age, and then 75% of the overall age is 38. So these are the information that can get out of this. Now after that, let's go through the visualization, because like I said, visualization is a byproduct of the ED, right? So let's do the visualization, or one of the product or byproduct of the ED process. Now we'll create histogram, and then we will also create the box plot. So I will show you what the histogram and box plot is, even though I have covered a whole good video, a lengthy video on the visualization with the help of Seaborn and Matplotlib, right? But still, for this video, I'll just cover the basics. Now let's import some couple of libraries. So it's matplotlib.pyplot as plt, and then we have import Seaborn. I don't need to, but just as sns, but I think the code will give you error that we are calling it again. But anyways, let's see. Okay, great. Let's create histogram for numerical columns. So all the columns that in the data set which has the numerical data types will be taken. For that, let's do, if you understand the histogram, so you know it works on the numerical values. Now let's see, data.hist bins fixed size, let's say 40. 40 will be a bit bigger, and let's say 14, maybe 1410, right? Sorry, it should be in the bracket if I'm not wrong. Yep. And then let's close this, and then let's try to run this plot dot show. Okay, so we have the histogram. So basically what it says that you have the survived. Basically we have more than 50, more than 500 people they are like dead, and then somewhere around 350 were alive, because we have one. There's no values in between that. And then I think P class is more like which class they were sleeping, they were living in. So we have 1, 2, and 3. So basically third class had around 500 people, second class had around 200 or less than 200, and first class had more than 200 people. Age is, the maximum is somewhere around a bit more than 0, but somewhere it touches 80, and the maximum was somewhere around, I don't know. So maximum number of people was somewhere between 20, and it was touching around 90 people or something were in that age area. Right? Okay, good. So this is how you can see the max plot, the visualization of the data. So basically it gives you an overall idea how the data looks like, and this is really crucial when it comes to, let's say, like I said earlier, the model selection. Right? Okay. Now let's go to the bivariate analysis. Now, bivariate analysis, we have a correlation analysis within the bivariate. Now, why is it done? Because the correlation basically helps us to understand the relationship between multiple columns, or let's say the variables. So let's do that. Okay, helps us to understand the relationship between two variables. Okay, now for that, let's do the correlation matrix. So it basically, the x-axis and y-axis will be created, and then we will see how the data set or data points are related to each other. It's a good way of checking the relationship. So let's say, just write it over here, correlation underscore matrix is equal to data.com, I think. Yeah, right. Now let's also display the correlation. So for that, what we will do, we'll say print co. Okay, so there's some error. So could not convert string to float mail. I think I know the reason, because So basically, we had to convert these categories. So we say that the features into other categories into some numerical values. So let's do that. Okay, good that we got this error. So what we will be doing, well, let's like I said, we will convert the columns into all columns string values into the numerical values. So for that, let's do something like data sex is equal to, so we'll convert the male into zeros and female into ones. So basically we are creating a dictionary. So if it is male, then it will be 0, and then if it is female, it will be 1. Okay, so now I think this is good. Let me just check what was the, so we have embarked column as well. So I know there are a couple of columns, but let's do one by one. For that, let's apply the one hot coding for that. So let me do it somewhere over here. Okay, and then what else? Because I know there are like more, so let's do this. I think better to add the class itself. So class, right? So let me run it again. So and then what else do we have? So we have C. Again, for the C part, I'm sure there is a data with C. So basically, okay, so we have tech. Okay, let's do one thing before all these. Let me do a couple of more things like data types. So basically I've been doing the data type and all. So after head, maybe we can just do the describe and then data type. So what we have as a data type, let me do it in another column. Sorry, the right. So let's check. So we have, so all these will create issue for us with whichever are like object. Right, so let's do something else, and then also let's do for the missing part, and then we have is null in the age, we have in the depth, we have embark down, we have couple of missing data, and then here again I missed one more code. So basically I had planned many things, but then on the flow. So let me just add this one. So this was a box plot. So we had, yeah, right. Let me just check the data now first. Okay, so after this, let me just check the data, because after one hot coding, so the data will be like, sorry. So we have converted embarked and class into one hot coding. So basically coding on, so categorized with 0 and 1. Now we have couple of more data sets. So we have tech. So let me convert the tech as well. Hopefully we'll not need it in the future. So now tech is also BC. What else do we have? Man, who again? Who? I mean, see, these are very much common when you work with the data. So I'm not like very. So we again have Southampton, so embark down. If we need in all these columns in the future, we can surely take it out. But I just want to create or show you the correlation. What else do we have? We have no, could not convert the string float to no. So what else do we have over here? Alive, probably, right? Yes. Okay, so now we have we have the correlation matrix. Now what this correlation matrix basically shows, if you see the survived and survived, it's basically like a matrix. Now survived and survived, of course it will be 1, and then what we have, let's say which one is like maximum, I mean closest one. So SIP SP is somewhere very much close to the sex. These the negative ones are like inversely correlation, DEC and then P class. So these are related. So basically, yeah, I mean if the sex was like female, then where is it? So age had kind of a 50% chance of survival based, I mean, on the sex, and then age also was having inverse relationship, and then adult male 50% somewhere. Alone had, I mean, it's negatively, so alone also again negatively correlated. I just wanted to and find a data set which is more like very much close. I think probably I mean there is a code for that, but I don't remember right now. So third class is correlated with the P class. Anyways, okay. So now let's work on the scatter plot. So basically, scatter plot helps us to create a visualization between the variables. So let's work on that. Let me just make a comment of this, and then let me run. So fair, head, and age. So basically, the more the fair and the more the age. So it shows that the fair was less for more rich people, right? And then like we said, the people were more like between the age of 20 and 30, and then they had the maximum kind of let's say the fear. Now, one more thing, we have somewhere around more than 500. So that was somewhere for people between 30 to 40. Right, so this is how the scatter plot is done. Now, one more thing that I wanted to show you was this one. So it's a pair plot. So whichever the data sets included float and integer, that will show us, this big graph. It's really good, but I will not go very deep into this because it's a big chart. And but basically what you can do, you can just go through it, right, and try to understand. Okay. Now, the last topic that we have is a multivariate analysis. So let's do that as well. Okay, so in multivariate analysis, we have heat maps and then we have a multivariate plots. So what heat map does, heat maps helps us to understand the relationship between multiple variables, and then also helps us to visualize that with the help of some graphs or charts, right? So let's just do it very quick. This is just for your reference. And then, okay, so we already have the data, so we know that. And then we are creating the heat map with the help of correlation matrix that we created earlier. So this was a correlation matrix. If you remember, where is it? This one, right? So it basically creates a correlation between the columns. Okay, good. It should work. So this is what I was mentioning earlier, that it creates a matrix, and this is really amazing. I like this one, heat map, more because it basically hides, or let's say the darker the color of that particular cell, it means it is very much close to either directly related, or let's say correlated, or inversely correlated, right? So when I say inversely correlated, so whatever the blue color is inversely correlated, and if it is more like red, it's directly correlated. So if I say, let's say, who woman is directly correlated with the sex, right? Of course. So how do you read this? Is basically, I think this is a bit big. Let's try to, yeah. Okay, so age is somehow, I think the graph is too small to understand. Let me just increase it to 15, and this one to, let me make it to 16. A little bit much better. So basically, how age is related to the man, the woman, or let's say the class and sex, age. So these are the multi-dimensional correlation heat map. It's really amazing, but you need to understand, or let's say you need to learn how to read this. But once you do that, you will understand how great it is. Right. So now the next topic is the multivariate plots. And multivariate plots, basically it helps us to understand the relationship between multiple variables, or let's say the columns. So let's do that. Okay, so we will be using SNS library for that. Let's try to run this. Again, it's a big plot. I would suggest to just go through it. I will not go through it. I don't have that much of patience. But if you would like to understand this data set, please go through it and let me know if you don't understand anything. We can surely, or I can surely, help you out. But like I said, EDA is really important when it comes to, let's say, the visualization of the data, or to understand the data, which consequently helps us to select the best model technique. And then it also helps us to understand which all columns are there, what all are the, let's say, the data types are there in the data set. So with my experience, I would say understanding or getting a summary of the data is really important to make any kind of decision. And that's how precisely the EDA helps you out to analyze and summarize the data. Right, so that's all for this video. I hope that you liked this video and you got to learn something from this video. Please make sure to like, share and subscribe. Till then, take care, bye, and make sure, eat healthy and drink plenty of water. I can suggest you only that, right? So till then, bye, take care. Have a great day.